Phew.
So, are you going to the Maha Khumba Mela?
Khumbha Mela, no. You know, and if anybody talks about Kumbha, then I don't want to go there.
You've been before though, right?
Yeah, I've been there twice, and that was the last Kumbha I ever attended. I said I'll never come to Kumbha again, you know, because it was just the opposite of what I thought about Kumbha, what I had in my mind about Kumbha, you know. And when I went there, it wasn't that at all. I didn't see anything that was something that was profane, more profound, and more, you know, something that we could seek with the people who come there, right?
Like a sacred
Sacred
activity in a sacred place.
Yes, and also meeting all the people, meeting
sadhus.
the
Right.
sadhus who come there and sharing, you know. This is what I was having in my mind and all, but I didn't see all this, you know. I saw everywhere chaos. Yeah, and that's what deterred me. You know.
When was the last time you went?
It was quite a long time back now, you know. It's pretty long. Many years ago, that was.
Like 20 years ago?
Yeah, more than 20.
90s, 80s?
Yeah, more
Right.
more than 20 years.
And even then it was chaotic.
Yeah, it was chaotic because that's what I saw there, and the picture of Kumbha, what I saw was like, for me it was terrifying.
Too many people.
Yeah, too many people. One thing is that crowd is there, right? And anyone who has a phobia with crowd will not be able to stand that crowd at all. And that's one thing. Okay, besides that is like, you know, how these sadhus, you know, and how they were presenting themselves in the Kumbha was like pretty terrifying. You see? Well, all these sadhus, like, they come from many different akharas. In India, there are many different akharas. So, 11 or 12 akharas now, I don't know how many now. So, all these sadhus from different akharas, they come to the Kumbha and then they fight. And they fight for what? Which akhara is going to take the first bath? Who is going to go the first, you know? So, everyone wants to go first, right?
Aren't the Nag Babas always the ones to go first?
Yeah, now these Nagabas are from different akharas too. It's not from
so
like
there's
one akhara.
Many
Yeah,
different.
different, like 10, 11 akharas.
Right.
And they are all from these different akharas, you see. So they all want to take the first path.
Right.
And that is the reason for discussions and then aggression. And then that also leads into violence. And I saw this happening.
So they kind of turn into their warrior mode.
Yes, because they come like warriors. That's what I saw, you know, like all of them, like they are holding weapons in their hands, right? Spears and swords and axes and tissue and I don't know what all, you know, like, and the image that they make with all the ash and the makeup and things like that, it's looking very terrifying. Yeah, and it looks like a huge army, you know, coming to fight or something. And then
the British must have been terrified.
Oh yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah, that was a different time.
But you saw them using their weapons.
Yeah, I saw them fighting with each other. That's the
Right.
thing. Because they wanted to have bath, and so they want to go first, and the other one also wants to
Right.
go first. So that in the end, it emerged into violence, you know. And violence, and they have swords and knives and everything, and they are, you know, like at each other, and there's
Hacking each
bloodshed.
other.
Blood everywhere. And I said, this is not Kumbha.
Right.
How can Kumbh be like this, you know? Violence and bloodshed and what's this, you know, like it was really, first thing was I was terrified and a kind of fear also gripped me because at that time I was young, you know, a young person. I don't know like that now. And then fear gripped me all over. And then this is what made me run away. I said, no, I'm not going to stay here because I'm not finding anything that is worthwhile. It's all chaos and fear, you know, and I don't know what else. So when I saw this, when I experienced this out there, you know, then I said, no, this is rubbish. I don't find anything there. That was my experience of Kumbha.
Did you actually have a snan? Did you have a
But
bath? And
yeah,
that also wasn't that special.
no, it wasn't that special. It was just a bath, okay. So I did take a dip. But anyway, that dip was refreshing.
Right.
It was, because it's very cold, and also like it was refreshing, because like once you get into the cold water, and if you are strong enough, then you will not have hypothermia, right? Otherwise, you will be shivering like hell, and you won't be able to talk. Also, so hypothermia. Many people, like I've seen them having this,
Right.
But I didn't experience that, though it was cold and chilly,
Right.
But after the bath, then my body started warming up
Yeah.
by itself, and then I was feeling good. That was refreshing. But the rest of the things were like, I didn't like it. I didn't like the crowd. I didn't like how these sadhus were behaving, absolutely very violent, aggressive,
So back then, some of the sadhus maybe rode to their tents on elephants, whereas now there's cars. Is that right?
Yeah, it's true. Like, not like ancient time, not like the sadhus, It's a totally different story about Kumbha. And Kumbha also has been manipulated by the Brahmins, and they made it into Kumbha. It wasn't Kumbha before. It was totally something else. Something else that was
The
beautiful.
Dham Bhumi.
Yes, it was something else that was absolutely beautiful, And that place where these two rivers meet, and they have this Kumbha right now, and now it's called Prayag.
The Yamuna and the Ganga.
Yes, the two rivers.
And then there's Saraswati there too, right? Ideally underground.
Now that one is like,
The Triveni Sangam.
they call it Triveni, and then Saraswati is invisible. Now how can a river be invisible? Cannot be at all. There's no such Saraswati there,
Can't it be flowing underground?
There is no Saraswati flowing underground also.
Well, it dried up due to climate change, right?
Yeah, and that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
That is a different thing. So
2700 BCE.
Yeah. And obviously the Saraswati was flowing into the Arabian Sea, and not into the Bay of Bengal.
No.
You see,
Yeah.
so many things are there. So this between these two rivers, the land, like it's a holy land. It's called at that time, in the ancient time, it was called the Maha Dana Bhumi. Right? Maha meaning great, and Dan meaning offering. And so that land, that place was auspicious and holy to make these offerings, so that everyone who makes the offerings will have merits.
Right.
Right? So that was the culture at that time, and there was no Kumbha at that time, you see. And this is a fact, this is real, because this has been recorded by a traveler, Wan Cheng.
The Chinese pilgrim.
Yes.
Yeah, who was wandering around
Yes,
India.
who came all the way,
Yeah.
from China, and he traveled many places, lived in many places in India to 16 years, 17 years,
Yeah,
right? He was a
exactly.
student at the
Like
Nalanda.
Kashi and Nalanda.
Yeah, Nalanda, he was a student there,
Yeah.
studied there,
Exactly.
right? Then he moved around in all different places, and he
He wrote his diary, his memoirs.
Yes, all the memoirs, his
published in a
travelogues, all the places he
Right.
saw, what was there, he defined it, described it in his
Right.
writings. It's all there,
Yeah.
We can see this in this traveler's record. And the books are available also, his travels to India, Wan Sang's travels to India, and his accounts are all in his books. And there he describes this Kumbha. It was not known as Kumbha, it was known as the Mahadahan Bhumi,
Right, it was Buddhist
Yeah,
essentially.
and everything was Buddhist.
Yeah.
The whole structure, the system was Buddhist,
Yeah.
because there were many Buddhist kings at that time, right? And all the Buddhist kings, the royals, the aristocrats, the rich business people,
The lay Buddhists.
yeah, all of them,
The merchants.
yeah, because they wanted to get merits. right? So for that, they used to come to this place to make offerings. And it was like, the offering was like they would earn for 5 years, right? And all the earnings that they have made, right, for the offerings in the 5 years, they bring this to this place and make an offering.
Like gold and gemstones.
Yeah, whatever
and
they could
right.
have.
Silk brocade.
Fabrics, whatever, and whatever people needed. So making offerings, right? So it was like that. And all the kings, they used to come there with big, wealth, gold, silver, and then make this offering in this particular place, which is today called Prayag. Right? I believe it was called Prayag in the ancient time too.
Right.
Because the Muslims changed it to Allahabad.
Right.
And now again it's changed back to Prague, right? So this was this great place, land, where all these people used to gather there, and all those who wanted to get offerings, right? All those who wanted to make offerings, they used to go there, and who wanted to get offerings, they used to go there too, right? And the offerings, to whom they used to make the offerings specially? First were the bhikshus. Right? Because why bhikshus? Because the bhikshus were the ones who were running the universities.
And they're also the Theravadan monks.
Yes, the Theravada monks. And at that time it was like that, right? And then they were running the universities, these huge universities.
Like Taxila.
Yeah, Taxila, Nalanda, Rajgiri. So many universities existed at that time. And they were all looked after by the bhikshus, right? And they were wise, learned men with them also, right? So they used to make these offerings to the bhikshus. Then they used to make the offerings to the wise people, learned people of that place, who used to come there. For them, the offerings. And then after that, the invalid, the lame, and these kind of people, right?
Lepers.
Yeah.
Widows.
So, all this kind of people, they used to get the offerings, right? And then widows, right? So widows also used to get offerings there. So like this, they had this trend, this culture at that time in this place to make offerings.
Yeah.
So it was a great, event also. And before making the offerings, they would pay their homage to the Buddha. And they would create a big Buddha statue,
Right.
and then decorate it, and then make worship, and then they would start the offerings ceremony. So that was the thing that used to happen there in Kumbha.
Yeah, it's interesting because right now I'm reading William Dalrymple's new book about this time period in India. So if anybody's interested in learning more about the Buddhist history and the aquatic trade routes and that diaspora of Indic culture, going into Afghanistan and into Sri Lanka, Cambodia, Burma, Thailand, Java, etc. It's really fascinating read, right?
Yeah, it
How
is.
prosperous
It
the
is.
world was back then,
at that
and
time.
how educated people
People
were,
were.
and the art, the culture, the history, major trading force,
Yes.
and incredible wealth.
Yes, incredible.
Yeah.
It was like, it was prosperous golden age.
Yeah,
That's what they say. That was the golden age. At
Yeah.
that time, everything was really something else, And Buddhism spread very far away at that time, And through record, we can see that it spread into Europe, right? Into Greece. And
right.
yeah. And the Greeks were the ones to first create the statues, because that was their culture. They were
Right,
the
the
ones.
Gandharva.
Yeah, they used to make beautiful statues, so they
Right.
knew how to make that. So they were the ones to create the Buddha
Yeah,
statues in
right.
the beginning, the Gandharva.
With the curly hair
Yes,
and the
yes,
robes,
yeah.
the flowing
like the
robes.
Greek style kind of thing, yeah.
Right.
So it all started like that, And then the other people learned here how to make these statues, and so it spread, this culture. and then the stupas and everything. So you see like how it has been manipulated by the Brahmins, and now it is Kumbha, just the opposite, you know. Those who want to get offerings come in big posh cars and, you know, big chariots and I don't know what not, with big pomp and show. And they are the ones to receive offerings, the sadhus.
Right.
And the ones who are going to give the offerings to the sadhus, they go through all the trouble of coming to this Kumbha, you know, riding the buses, in the crowd, in the train, walking many, many kilometers, and finally coming to Kumbha to make offerings. To whom? Those who come in big chariots. Just look at this irony.
Right.
Yeah? Just the opposite of what used to happen before, and now it's totally been changed.
Okay, hang on. Let's make number 2.
Yeah, sure.
This is 15 minutes.